I didn't.
I'm down front. Get all that.
We'll call the Utilities Committee meeting to order for February 5th. If everyone please stand for the invocation, and the pledge will be led by Mr. Wilford Barry.
Dear God, we stand before you in your glory and your presence. Give us the shining light to follow you and do your will for the great state of Louisiana, and particularly the parish of Ascension Parish. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Wilford. Roll call, Madam Secretary. All members present except for Councilman Turner. There's no chairs additions tonight. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items can sign in a card, and when that item comes up on the agenda, you'll be able to be given 3 minutes to speak. Item number 5 is update on Highway 73 and 42 projects. Showing Mr. Michael Petty on that. We're going to be yield to Mr. Brian Martinez on that one.
Yes, sir. The Highway 73 project, it's as of right now, it's anticipated to be completed around June of construction. As far as the wastewater treatment solution, we've been working with the private wastewater provider. The plan right now that they're working on laying out is dividing the sewer and bringing it to 2 different subdivisions that they have. So half the system that was running the one way will go to one of the subdivisions that they maintain, and the other half will go to another subdivision. Those 2 subdivisions are Longwood and Renaissance subdivisions. The Highway 42 project they had a 30-day extension for starting of construction. There was a contract that was issued with it was Witten Smith, I believe, was the contractor for clearing and grubbing, as well as for the sewer installation, and that's going to be a 30-day extension they had requested and was granted for that start of construction on that. That's the update. That's the only other updates, unless you have any questions. I have.
So what's the date expected that's going to start, since they got a 30-day? Is that going to be first of next month or April?
I don't have that exact date with me. I had called Mike and Jason just a few minutes ago to get that update and get that exact date. That was the update that was passed along.
Okay. Any questions on those 2 projects? Ms. Secretary, show Councilman Turner has arrived. Okay. Item number 6, a discussion on Lemonville LCDVG state grant for sewage. Councilman Joseph.
Yes, we had brought up this item. We brought up this item about 6 months ago, and we at the time we asked the grant department to look into it, because at one time they did have a block grant for the Lemonville area, and the engineering had been drawn up on and everything, but due to lack of funds at that time, we sent the money back. And so we asked, I requested that we look at it and see what we can do to bring this grant back, or apply for a new community block grant. And that's why I asked to put this on the agenda. And Ms. Martha Collins is not here, but the parish president said he can answer all questions. So
I can't answer all. All I can tell you is what
Give us a status update.
I got a report today from the grants department that at first it was 1.2 million, now it's up to about 1.4 million dollars, the projected cost. We did receive a grant for $600,000 at one time, and at that point it was too much money, because it was $600,000 more to do so. I'm not sure we have not sent in a request for another grant at this point. Now, if you want me to do so, we can certainly do so. I think now that the type of what you can receive, the amount of money that you can receive, maybe has gone up from 600,000 maybe to close to 800,000 to 1 million. So we can check all that. I'll report back to you. Make sure we get a report back at the next utilities meeting, and from there you can send it on to the full council to request that we apply for that grant again, if it's a thing that we can possibly get close to what the cost is. So we just need to have some meetings, talk to some people. I'm not sure that Martha hasn't talked to anyone. I can't say that, but we will find out. I will have an answer for you at the next meeting.
And thank you, Mr. President. And one of the reasons was because we have a lot of interest in that area. A couple of businesses want to come in that area and look like a subdivision or some type of 200 or 300 homes in that area, and that would reduce the distance that we was I'm saying the distance that we was looking to carry that line. If they all come on board, then that would reduce the distance that we would have to fund, because we can just tap into that system of that infrastructure. So that would shorten it up. And that was I think was the biggest thing. Not where in Lemonville, it was once it leaves Lemonville, that long stretch about 1.5 miles, that it didn't have any residential in that area, and that was where the cost was. But I think right now we do have some people interested in developing that area, and so that's why I asked to look into it again. And the other thing was
certainly I will try to get those answers to you. And of course, if there's more customers, that will reduce the cost here. Not the cost, but it would bring in more revenue to offset some of the losses that would have. So we'll look into that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Councilman
Mr. Chairman.
Cluett?
Yes, do we need any motion right now to go forward to authorize?
I'd rather come back to you and
Okay.
give you
We'll come back at the next utility
full
meeting.
report, and have Martha, the grants department, bring a full report back to the utilities committee, and then that way we know what we're looking at, and maybe we'll get another update on the cost estimate and go from there.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Item number 7, update on RFQ sewer project construction management or modified P16 area. Brian, if you want to, or I can kind of give it. We had the pre-bid conference Monday. Had about 50 people there. I'm not sure how many companies we had represented.
21 firms is what
21
I counted.
firms were represented. We had a good meeting, laid out what our scope and what our goals are, where we're trying to get with this project, and what our time frame is. One of the things that I've talked to fellow council members and President Martinez about is since how we have set an aggressive timetable for this project, one of the things that we want to do is we don't want to be in the way of getting this thing started. So if I remember correctly, the quotes are due back on the 25th of this month?
14th. The request for qualifications are due February 14th.
14th.
And then we'll have the selection committee most likely within about a week
Okay.
from that point.
And so once all that takes place and we run our normal route, we're not subjecting or subverting anything in that respect. We're going to run our normal routes with it. But once we get the 3 recommendations back from the engineering selection committee, we are probably going to call for, depending on the timing, with normally scheduled meetings, we'll probably be calling a special meeting of this committee to review the engineering selection and stuff and make a recommendation to the full council of some sort or another, if that's the wishes of this body at that time. And then, depending on time frame, may even call a special council meeting to review those issues, to go ahead and make a selection so we can get that firm on board with the administration to negotiate the contract necessary to go ahead and get them on board and start working this issue. Again, thanks to everyone that has participated in this effort and got us where we are today. There's a bunch of folks that are out there that has helped us out with this, and in order to make this project hopefully come to a reality here in the very near future. Anything I left out, gentlemen, that y'all wanted to add to that?
I would just add that we've also been working with Hartman, and we've worked with DHH and DEQ in the most streamlined way to handle the environmental document as well as the preliminary engineering report that was done previously by Hartman is to have a contract with those guys just to update it. And we've been working with them, finalize the scope as well, and we're working on finalizing the actual contract and go ahead and get started on that work. And I'd also like to point out too, we just recently hired this week an engineer, Mr. Bob Horner, who's present. He's going to be basically responsible for all the water and sewer and utility department type of projects to kind of take the load off the other engineering department that has all the roads and bridges and drainage projects. So I just wanted to point that out. He'll be a big asset for the department and the parish.
Fantastic. Mr. Bob, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about yourself, or you let that go? Well, welcome aboard. We appreciate your help and look forward to working with you on this stuff. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Kluwer?
Yeah, you said RFQs are due on the 14th?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At 10 a.m. on February 14th.
Mr. Jordan?
And I just, with the funding of this here right here, I mean, we're on a fast, rapid pace, and I just heard what Brian was just saying. Those funds coming out of us, that's not coming out that 60K.
Nope.
Nothing, everything is on us right now.
Yep.
Correct.
And that's what I want to.
Yeah, with Mr. President.
You don't, the engineering fees are not gonna come out of the grant. We're gonna use the grant actually for 100% of the construction. We're gonna pay the engineering fees from ACUD too. It's the general plan right now. I also want to point out that when they go over the application that's coming in, I've invited Mr. Johnson and I think the finance chair and
I think Councilman Schneider is another one that's going to participate in that to kind of give us as a
from
chair.
a council perspective, you can look at and go over while the selection committee is looking. Of course, you won't have a vote. You can vote when the final vote, when it comes back, but the selection committee is going to vote on who they think is the best firm. But during the interview process, I invited some of the chairman of the utility committee to take part in that process.
And one of the things too that we've done, and credit to President Martinez and working together, and you know, we started this engineering selection committee 6 years ago, and as we've gone through that process, it's always a learning process, and with his approval and encouragement, with the last RFQ we had on this, we learned a few things, and so we're going to have and talking to Mr. Dawson, our plan is to get the engineering selection committee together to have a meeting when they're giving those proposals to kind of outline what we're going for, and not tell them how to score it, but give them an outline of what they need to, how they need to go through the process. So it's an evolution of from where we were to make this process better, to make sure that we get the best firm for this project as possible, meeting all the criteria that we set aside. So it's another step in our progress to making sure that we're doing better and better as time goes on. Randy, you got something else?
Yeah, on this part of the process, I guess Ms. Joseph and I was talking, what is the estimated dollar value on this book that's going to cost us?
I think it's $400,000 for this, and plus another be $800,000. I think it's about 1.2 total.
And that's for design and management.
That's the total budget for that one piece six. I'm just saying from that coming out of our pocket, if you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I'm talking about the program management, which, and then we'll have to, the design and engineering will have to come out also. That won't be on the, that's all on us.
I think what was decided upon was doing maybe 3 design.
Minimum of 3 is what's been recommended by DEQ, is my understanding.
The phases?
Well, the design portion of it is a minimum of 3 firms. Now, whether that's different phases or whether it's different portions of it, for a time factor.
So you have one contract for management and putting together this first phase, And then you're gonna have 3 design
A minimum of
contracts.
3 contracts for design.
So that's where we're at now. So once you pick this, you're still gonna have to go to select 3 other people.
And with the help of the management
Right.
team, setting those parameters for that, once they're on board and we, we've lined everything out, they'll help set the parameters for the design team, and RFQ for that. And of course, that's when a lot of the stuff between them as well as in-house, making sure that all the pieces of the puzzles fit together, to where the system functions like it's supposed to
Yeah,
function.
I just want to keep clarifying what's coming out of our pocket, out of the budget that we've put forward in the parish. That's before we even get chewing on the 60 million. And I'm pretty sure that land acquisition will be coming out of parish funds.
That's correct.
It can't come out of the construction.
Nope.
And that's
That's the way it is.
That's unknown.
a very, very real unknown number,
That's right.
totally. I'm sure there's suggested budgets out there for that and looking at the path.
That's gonna be part of this management contract, basically. And of course, we don't have quick take. That's gonna slow this process down. We're not like the state where we have that, luxury where you can just go ahead and make an offer. If they don't take it, then you, move on with the project. We're gonna certainly have to do this thing. We do have the right to expropriate, which is a little bit longer process to do. We can't go and make an offer, and if they turn it down, go ahead and move on for each one. So that's gonna have to be a coordinated thing to where the construction goes by. You have to make sure you have, hopefully, on the main lines of 42, we've already got that. I think we have enough room on 73, certainly, to take it to the river without acquiring a whole lot of right-of-way. The problem is going to be where you put the lift stations, and I think that's going to be the main thing. That was kind of the problem with 42. We did not have quick takes, so we couldn't go in and put the lift stations above ground. So it cost us an extra $2 million for the lift station to be put underground rather than above ground. So it's certainly a lot more expensive that way. But if we would have said, no, we're gonna go and expropriate this property for the lift stations, then we would have certainly, set the 42 project back probably anywhere from, 6 months to 8 months from what it is today. So we agreed to go ahead and pay the extra $2 million to make sure that the contract was let, and DOTD didn't want to delay their project because of that. So, and we asked DOTD to go ahead and do it, and they said, no, we're not doing the sewer project, you are. So,
I just know that land acquisition on the simplest things, Roddy Road, widening, things like Laurie's Levee, ditch, everything, land acquisition is a major, shadow there for us, and it can delay a job. And when we delay, we could take the 60 million and burn 20% of it in delays over time.
I think the
By
average
escalating costs.
is if you have property problems and expropriation problems, you're gonna probably add 5% a year for the length of your project, cost-wise.
Yeah. I just want to clarify to everybody that, everybody's looking at the 60 million like the pot of gold. There's a lot of costs that's going to come out of the parish budget on the present tax base that are not part of that 60 million.
We feel like we've grown an ample balance to cover the engineering costs
Yeah.
and the land acquisition, but of course, as you said, we don't know, there may be some hidden costs that end up showing up through the duration of this project. I don't know that. I don't think anybody up here knows that.
Yeah,
So
and I know we got money in. We put some
we
money in for all that.
put some money, and we've been saving money to be able to at least pay for the engineering and the land acquisition. And of course, this year, the first 2 years, you're not going to have to pay anything back on the loan. 2 years after you actually get it. So you'll have 3 years to build up that surplus to where you can pay for all costs that we're talking about, that's associated with the project, and still have enough to maintain what you're doing now in the, so I can get you that far, but from there you gotta go, you're on your own.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilman Sadler?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. President, you mentioned two numbers, 400,000, I believe, and 800,000. I was trying to take some notes on that. So that's 1.2 million of Ascension Parish funds being spent before, and obviously we can't spend any of the SRF money for a big reason. We don't have it yet, and until that loan closes in the next 8-10 months or whatever. But in adding the information about the DEQ requirements, I think, Benny, you said this, or maybe, Mr. President, you did, the design has to be 3 contracts and the management another contract separately. Is that where those two figures go? Does the 800K go with the 3 contracts for design and the 400 with the 1 contract for
I
management?
think what the, if I can explain this, I'll give it a shot. The first 400,000 will be to put together and work toward getting the loan, okay? You're gonna retain, whoever gets this contract will receive a contract for 3 years with a 5-year option. It's basically the way I had understood it. And that, over that 5-year period, or whatever the period is, I'm just saying that, I'm sure it's gonna, yeah, it's gonna, that's where the 800,000 will come in. So it'd be the same firm will get the 400,000 and the 800,000. You're not gonna go back out for RFQs to pick another engineering group to continue. Is that basically,
Yeah.
what you understand?
Yeah, and I think the goal in the RFQ was to set percentage limits based on the scope of the work that the firm will be contracted for, whether it be for design or excuse me, inspection or whatever their part of the contract project is. Excuse me. That their cost would be a certain percentage of whatever the overall cost of the project is. So based on that, and how many different firms get those different contracts for different scopes of the project would determine how much the pay is going to be for that. I think it's anywhere from, depending on 8 to 12, 14, 15%, I think, of typical average, and correct me if I'm wrong, for everything. So on the overall project cost, for all those types of, for all the services needed to do the project, you're going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15% of the net cost of the project towards those different services, whether it be the engineering, the design, inspections, and project management, and there might be 1 or 2 other things that I'm missing out on. That acquisitions that are within that percentage is the way I've been explained to it. Anybody got anything else? No. All right. Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, one question, Mr. Chairman. You said earlier, we will have a special utility meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you said special
Council meeting as well.
as well? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the plan was for that to come to us first, and for us to look at the reviews, and then if we choose to, make a recommendation to the full council. If this body doesn't want to do that, we want to go straight to the full council with it, we can do that as well. Some of going by what we've done in the past with it, we brought those type of things dealing with sewer here first to kind of give it an extra once over, if you will, before it was brought to the full council and kind of get our way in on it as kind of being direct in with the project. Mr. President?
The engineering part being paid 100% by the parish, if it was federal money, when we go through the selection process, whoever would be first through that process would actually have to get the job. So, but since this is money that's being paid by the parish, we fall back to the other deal where we make a recommendation to either the council or the committee, and they have their choice of doing what they want. But So that's the difference in using the federal money and using our money for engineering.
And if this body would prefer to go straight to the council, I don't have an issue with that. That's just, like I said, it's kind of what we've been doing in the past. So, I'll leave it up to you gentlemen, whether y'all want to just make it one meeting with the council, or if y'all want to do, and again, depends on the timing. When they get finished with it, if it comes back and we're within a week of having a meeting for the full council, there's no sense in calling a special meeting. We'll just wait a couple extra days and do that. But if it's a couple of weeks away or something, longer than that, and we can meet all the legal requirements or time frame wise to get that meeting out of the way, we prefer to do that.
And based on our engineering selection committee policy, our engineering selection policy is that we bring recommendations forward.
We would hope that you would accept the recommendation of the committee, but you're not bound to do so
Right.
unless there's federal or state funds that are
Right.
are being utilized.
Okay. All right. Moving on to item number 8. Brian, I don't know if you've got this one, but discussion on revisions to current sewer ordinances. All right, Mr. President.
I'm having to be the attorney tonight and there you go, CAO and the parish president. But anyway, bottom line is that we are going to ask Keen Miller. We've talked to Keen Miller about looking at our ordinance and changing what we need it to be and coming back with a recommendation. Now that would be less than $50,000 to do so, but according to the Home Rule Charter, when you hire a special counsel, you have to get council approval. So what we're asking here is for this body to recommend to the full council to hire Keen Miller as special counsel to revise our sewer ordinance.
I make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Kluwat. Second by Councilman Joseph to hire Keen Miller as the special counsel to review the current sewer ordinances. Any discussion? Councilman
Yes.
Joseph.
Mr. President, okay, you just said $50,000. As long as it stays under $50,000,
I would hope that it'd be a lot less than $50,000.
Okay.
But my deal is that generally we don't have to come to council for anything under $50,000. But since we are hiring special counsel, we need a resolution from the council to actually hire special counsel.
But I'm still, dealing with the dollar sign,
I understand,
That's the
and I'm just putting that there because, I
understand.
I would hope, like I said, I can assure you that I will make sure that we'll get it for a lot less. I think I can negotiate that.
Councilman Turner.
I guess as far as the fee, are they going to be charging by the hour or is it flat rate?
Okay. And I guess they've got experience in dealing with this type of issues. That's why we're recommending those guys.
They dealt with some of our issues in the past, and we feel like that they're the best qualified firm to do this. They've got more experience in it than some of the other firms. Either them or Jones Walker,
Right.
the two firms that deal with this.
And just to kind of go back and cover why we're doing this. In a year and a half ago, I guess now, or right around a year and a half ago, when we did our work groups with the team that we had, that was one of the things that was identified in order to strengthen our ordinances up, in order to make sure we're doing things that are consistent, and also give us a stronger base to stand from, give our utility department some teeth, and become basically, if you will, our own DEQ within inside of the parish. Our thoughts on it and our goals were to set it up to where we could become the enforcement agency to make sure that folks are private companies are doing what they need to do to where they're not polluting our streams and so forth and so on. And we can do that in-house and recognize that from local. And that's one part of it. There's many phases to that, but that was one part of it that was discussed. So that was the gist behind looking at our sewer ordinances and strengthening those up. Any further discussion?
Yeah, real
Mr.
quick,
Kluwer.
I just want to know what the goals of this ordinance change is that this is also this is not something that's being done different away from DEQ, that DEQ's very much encourage the local government to strengthen their ability on their sewer ordinances, which gives DEQ better opportunity to help us clean up our ditches and our canals.
And not only that, but it's also, we've had some questions about what can we do to help some of our citizens out from a legal standpoint of view of whether or not that, we have the ability to go in and grant certain, I'm going to call it an exemption, if you will. One of the concepts that we had talked about was if we ran a sewer line down a roadway and a family had just put in a MODAD system within 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatever, and that MODAD system's functioning properly, do we want to give them the opportunity to realize a return on investment that they made into that system? Under current state law, we don't know that we can do that. State law says that basically, and parish law mirrors that at this time, that if we run a sewer line in front of that residence, they have to connect to our system. And so we want to try to get those options out there, because like we've said all along, this is not an easy pill to swallow for anybody in the parish. I mean, this is a tough pill to swallow. It's an expensive project. It's something that, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind to a certain extent. And so when you go over there and you're starting demanding that people connect to the system, it's an expensive proposition. So we want to help our citizens out as much as possible where we can to make that transition as smooth as possible from where we are today to where we need to be at in order to clean up our environment. So that's another, so it's not only just the regulatory side, it's the other side to make sure we can realize the things that will help the citizens out that we need to. Any other questions or discussion? Councilman Sauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm just curious a little bit about who all will be closely working. If we make this recommendation to go with King Miller and the full council blesses it, who all from the parish will be working with this firm to look at the old ordinance, look at the new, and put all these nuances that Chairman Johnson is talking about and others that we've even talked about in the past, to be sure that that process comes out with a product that we not only need but can really use.
I would certainly think that our utility staff now, especially since we.
So Brian, that's going to mostly be on you. Okay.
No, and also along with our attorney.
And legal counsel.
So it'll be. I would say if I had to tell you who the main players would be Brian's office and O'Neill.
And the fellow we just hired, maybe?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted to know how it was going to work. Thank you.
And I would guess also as far as procedures would go, we'd come through this with the first recommendations. We would get first shot at review and revision type things before it's actually ordinance is finalized and drafted and brought towards the full council.
I think that would be certainly the procedure that would be followed, and there'll be some. Hopefully, we can kind of streamline it to say here's the revisions and the changes where they occur in the ordinance, and make it to where we have a sheet to look at and compare with. So that's kind of what I think the goal is going to be. And of course, as I said, I got all the confidence in the world that this will that they'll put together something that we can live with.
I do as well. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. So we have a motion and a second to authorize the administration to contract with the attorney's firm for the revisions to the current sewer ordinance.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, is that a recommendation to the full council?
As a recommendation to the full council, yes.
It's a recommendation to full council.
Yes, ma'am. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. So that will be put on the council agenda for, let's see, the second meeting of this month. Yes, I think the 20th is the right day.
Does that meet our time frames? I mean, it's no.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 weeks away. Should be plenty of time to get that on the agenda without any problems. That being said, moving on to item number 9.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Councilman Clark, second by Councilman Sadler. We are adjourned. Thank you.